Hey, what's going on, everyone? Charlie here. So we looked at DTC-011 yesterday, and we had similar filings come out from NSCC as well as the FICC, the three subsidiaries of the DTCC. And I wanted to go ahead and show you the actual changes to the text using the NSCC filing and go over some differences. So this is the Exhibit 5 straight out of the filing. You can find this in all three. I'm going to go over the exhibit for the FICC as well. So anything underlined is going to be added text, and anything strike through or bold is going to be deleted language. So they added, of course, the DTCC confidential information section that we went over in the video yesterday. It says the term DTCC confidential information shall mean all non-public information provided by DTCC and or the corporation that 1. Is marked or otherwise identified in writing prior to disclosure to the recipient as confidential. 2. Is designated by DTCC or the corporation as confidential. Or 3. The recipient knows or, under the circumstances surrounding disclosure, ought to reasonably know is confidential. Goes to also say that any non-public information furnished to the corporation pursuant to this rule shall be held in, now before it said in the same degree of confidence, but now it says held in confidence as may be required under the laws, rules, and regulations applicable to the corporation that relate to the confidentiality of records. And then the next little part of that sentence is strike through, meaning they took out the language being by law or the rules and regulations of the appropriate regulatory body, because as we know from the last filing, they consolidated all of the jurisdiction to create one uniform standard for all participants. Each applicant shall maintain the confidential information in confidence to the same extent and using the same means it uses to protect its own confidential information. So it's basically saying protect this information just like you would your own personal information that's confidential. So basically, same thing here that we saw in DTCC, just some new text regarding confidentiality and the fact that they would have to follow the DTC's confidentiality requirements or face disciplinary action. Each applicant acknowledges that a breach of its confidentiality obligations under these rules may result in a serious and irreparable harm to the corporation and or DTCC for which there is no adequate remedy at law. In the event of such a breach by the applicant, the corporation and or DTCC shall be entitled to seek any temporary or permanent injunctive or other equitable relief in addition to any monetary damages hereunder. So everyone's been saying that this is it's coming off as a bad thing. You got to understand that it's not just the DTC. The DTC, the FICC, and the NSCC are all filing for the same thing to be able to, if there's a breach, go out and make decisions that they formerly would not have been able to do to better protect themselves. So the participants they're talking about is the participants that use the DTC, which is basically everyone. So it's really hard to say that this is a negative thing when it impacts literally everyone in the market. Now, the only thing they added to this sentence here is, like we saw with the DTC, they were going to add 2 officers that could declare a market event and using the Majeur rule. So they went ahead and they added the Chief Information Officer and the Head of Clearing Agency Services, or General Counsel, to be the 2 newly appointed officers that will be able to make decisions concerning a market disruption event. Now the system disconnect one, this one's the crazy one. So all this stuff right here is added. So Rule 60A, systems disconnect, threat of significant impact to the corporation's systems. A lot of you are wondering what this means. This is the best picture we have of what they're talking about right here. For purposes of this rule, the following terms shall have the following meanings. DTCC systems means the systems, equipment, and technology networks of DTCC, the corporation, and or their affiliates, whether owned, leased, or licensed, software, devices, IP addresses, or other addresses or accounts used in connection with providing the service set forth in the rules, or used to transact business or to manage the connection with the corporation. The system's participant shall mean a member, limited member, or a third-party service provider or service bureau that is connecting with the DTC systems, not retail. Major event shall mean the happening of one or more systems disruptions that is reasonably likely to have a significant impact on the corporation's operations, including the DTCC systems, that affect the business, operations, safeguarding securities or funds or physical functions of the corporation, members, limited members, and or other market participants. So they're saying when a market event happens, they're all anticipating some form of a market event, major event or market event, whatever you want to call it. When this thing goes tits up, they want to know that they can act very quickly to minimize any potential spillage of defaulting or losses that are made from affecting their business operations. That is what I gather out of this filing. Don't see it as a bad thing, really, because, again, it affects every single member and or participant. Now, a system disruption shall mean the unavailability, failure, malfunction, overload, or restriction, whether partial or total, of a DTCC systems participant system that disrupts or degrades the normal operation of such systems, or anything that impacts or alters the normal communication or the files that are received or information transmitted to or from the DTCC systems. Now here, again, all added info. Section 2 of the disruptions says powers of the corporation. The determination that a corporation has a reasonable basis to conclude that there has been a major event and shall be entitled to act or refrain from acting as prescribed in Section 3 of this Rule 60A may be made by either the Chief Executive Officer, the Chief Financial Officer, the Group Chief Risk Officer, the Chief Information Officer, the Head of Clearing Agency Services, or the General Counsel. As soon as practical following such a decision, any management committee on which all of the foregoing officers serve shall convene, and the corporation shall convene a board of directors meeting as soon as predictable thereafter. So, again, this is very foreshadowing, very ominous language that they're using here. So, now, final section here. Authority to take actions. Upon the determination that there is a major event, the corporation shall be entitled, during the pendency of such major event, to disconnect the systems participant system from the DTCC, suspend the recipient and or transmission of files or communications from the DTCC, and finally, take or refrain from taking or require the systems participant to take or refrain from taking any and all action that the corporation considers appropriate to prevent, address, correct, mitigate, or alleviate the major event and facilitate the continuation of services as may be practicable, and in that context, issue instructions to the DTCC systems participant. Basically, they're just trying to get a control of a situation when it goes tits up. That is basically what I'm gathering from this. No notifications. Each member or limited member shall notify the corporation immediately upon becoming aware of any major event. The corporation shall promptly notify the DTC systems participant of any action the corporation takes or intends to take with respect to such DTCC systems participants pursuant to Section 3 of this Rule 60A. And then there's a section here that's miscellaneous matters. You can pause this and read it. I don't want to read the entire thing verbatim to you, but in essence, you get the point. They're adding a lot of language here that says, hey, when things start failing, when things start going down, we want to be able to make sure we can control the situation to prevent any further loss to the overall parent structure of the market, with being the DTCC and the subsidiaries, which we saw the filings come out from. Anyways, I will make another video here in a minute about this Rule 60A, going a little bit more detail to try to give some more peace of mind. But again, as far as I'm concerned, this is only expected, really. It's just an ass covering on a major level. So, again, jacked for next week, everyone.